Good morning. Welcome back to the Red Mic. Happy Wednesday. Glad you're here. Today's Red Mic message: the hallway test. Most employees never see the strategic plan. They never sit in the budget meeting. They don't attend the executive retreat. They aren't part of the discussions that shape the major organizational decisions. But they do see something else every day. They see how leaders act in the hallway. They notice whether a greeting is returned. They notice whether a question gets answered. They notice whether promises are kept. They notice whether mistakes are owned. They notice whether leaders disappear when things get difficult. They also notice if you show up or not. And that's because most people don't experience leadership through speeches. They experience leadership through moments. It's that return phone call, the quick check in after a tough meeting, the email that gets answered in a really timely manner, the conversation that wasn't rushed, the thank you that didn't have to be given, but was anyway. None of those moments seem particularly important at the time, but they do add up. A culture is nothing more than thousands of these small interactions repeated over and over again. People learn what matters by watching what their leaders do, not by what they say. If leaders talk about teamwork but take all the credit, people notice. I figured that out pretty early in my career, so that's why when I was the executive director at a state agency, I always gave my people credit, even if it was on a project that I did 95% of it, because I figure, they were behind the scenes at least doing the work and doing it in such a manner that I didn't have to worry about it. So I had the time to actually pay attention to my project. I gave them credit and they noticed. My bosses gave me the credit anyway, but I was always very clear: nothing happens without this team. You've got to do that. You also got to do this. If you talk about accountability, but you blame others when things go wrong, people notice. We had a ransomware issue. I've talked about it before. Thankfully, none of our data was actually stolen. It was just blocked off. And I could have, thrown the guy under the bus that opened the bad email or clicked on the bad attachment, but I didn't. I just simply said, "This is on me. We should have, spent more time or more effort on our security protocols. We should have spent more time training people to make sure that they know, if you're not sure, send it to the IT department." And again, they knew it wasn't my fault, but they accepted me at face value. And I think my team realized that I always had their backs. If you're going to talk accountability, you've got to be accountable. If you talk about respect, you have to show it all the time, not just when circumstances are easy, because your team's going to notice. Your employees are always taking measurements, they're always gathering data, they're always deciding whether or not their trust in you is warranted. And they rarely make those decisions based on mission statements hanging on a wall. They make them based on their daily experiences with you. Several years ago, I heard somebody say that leadership is what happens when nobody is watching. Yeah, but I think that's only half right. Leadership is also what happens when everybody is watching, because everybody is, especially when you, as the leader, don't realize it. The truth is that most employees won't remember the strategic plan. They won't remember the quarterly goals. They won't remember any of the presentations, but they will remember how they were treated. They'll remember whether leaders showed up during difficult times, and they won't forget it. They'll remember whether someone listened. They'll remember whether you cared or not. And long after the details fade, those memories are going to remain. Because again, culture is not built in the boardroom, it's built in the hallway between the meetings. One conversation at a time, one promise at a time, one decision at a time. It's just like that bricklayer building a wall. Most of the work happens one brick at a time. No single brick looks impressive. No single brick creates the wall, but enough of them, laid carefully and consistently, create something strong enough to stand for generations. And leadership works the same way. The little things don't look like leadership when they happen. until one day you realize they built the culture that everyone lives in. That's today's Red Mike message. I hope you found it interesting or helpful. I hope you're able to use some of these things in place in your own life. Please give me a like, a follow, and a share. By the way, yesterday had a troll show up in the comments, made some really ridiculous political comments that had nothing to do whatsoever with the actual topic that I was talking about. And at first I was like, how does that apply to what I'm talking about? And then they just went back and they kept going back to it over and over and over again. It's like that thought was just stuck in their head like taffy. And I got a kick out of it. And then finally I just said, you know what? I'm not responding to you on this question that you keep throwing at me because it's not valid. It's not related. So I'm just going to ignore you moving on. My page, my rules. And I guess he got the point. He liked what I said. And then later he deleted everything. I do try to make this page as non-political as possible. And had yesterday been political at all, I might have taken his comments a little more seriously, but they were just so ridiculous. Anyway, thanks again for being here. I'll see you again tomorrow. And don't forget, as always, life is short. Drink the bourbon.